Hey, Truth Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. I haven't done a video for a few days, but in that time I've been gone, I've been paying attention to the headlines, doing posts on my blog. I've even watched 1.5 movies. I watched all of Unstoppable and half of Unbreakable, and I watched those two movies because just looking at the numbers on the surface, I saw how many connections there were to the recent Philadelphia train crash. If you go back to the very beginning of this written blog, freetofindtruth.blogspot.com, this is my blog, I didn't start out doing gematria. I didn't even know what it was. When I first started this blog, I did not know about the practice of coding numbers into words. But what I did know about, just from paying attention for over a decade, was the synchronicity between movies, television, and current events. It was very apparent that things were being forecast to us before they actually happened. From September 11th to a whole lot more. And with regards to this Philadelphia train crash, it's the exact same. In these two movies I watched, plus others, this train crash was entirely foreshadowed. Both the movies Unbreakable and Unstoppable are set in Pennsylvania. Let's get into the curiosities. So notice first that the release date for the nation was November 22nd, 2000. 11/22/00. 11 plus 22 is 33, plus 00 is 33. We'll get into the Unstoppable release date as well, which is also a 33 numerology. And what I want you to remember, Truth Seeker, is that this train crash in Philadelphia happened May 12th late United States time, but Universal Standard Time, where the real bosses of this world reside, it happened on May 13th, 2015, a date with 33 numerology. 5 plus 13 is 18, plus 15 more is 33. With regards to the numerology of the date in the United States, I call 32 the American number, so that also makes a lot of sense. But realize that the train crash happened on a 33 date universal time. 1:23 in the morning. 123, the number 123, represents conspiracy. Okay. So the release date, 33 numerology. Pennsylvania is known as the Keystone State, which has a Pythagorean gematria of 33. S exception 42. Put the K exception on it. Also 51. The number for conspiracy with Pythagorean gematria. The main character in this film is named David Dunn, which has a Pythagorean gematria of 39 and a simple English gematria of 93. The number of Thelema, the number of do what thou wilt. Remember, the mayor in Philadelphia is Michael Anthony Nutter, which has a name gematria of 93. In an earlier post, I showed how every famous black figure from history has this number 93 coded on them. And I mean all of them. I mean all of them. They all sum to 93. MLK, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, Bob Marley, a whole lot more. Even Michael Anthony Nutter. Maybe he's got bigger days ahead of him. The antagonist in this movie, David Dunn's the protagonist. The antagonist is Elijah Price, which has a Pythagorean gematria of 60, like conspiracy with the S exception, and a simple English gematria of 96, like Freemason, like Satanism, like knowledge. And in this movie, you find out that it's Elijah Price who caused the train accident. In the beginning of the movie, they show Elijah Price being born. He's born in the year 61. Barack Obama was born in 61. The train that crashed in Philadelphia is number 601 on the front. 601. The word church equals 61. Philadelphia is one of the 7 churches of Revelation. And when this train crash first happened, having very minimal details, I showed the synchronicities with Revelation. Since then, I've exposed many more. Okay, so in the story, if you watch the movie, it's reported that 131 people died in the train crash. We're talking about Unbreakable here. 131 people died with one sole survivor who wasn't even scratched. Didn't even suffer a scratch, not an injury. Just like all the people we've seen on the news who supposedly survived the Philadelphia crash. 131 people died out of 132 passengers. Why is that interesting? Because the train crash in Philadelphia, Truth Seeker, was May 12th. the 132nd day of the year. In Unbreakable, the movie has 132 people on the train that crashes. This film was done by M. Night Shyamalan. He loves Bruce Willis. His first big breakthrough was The Sixth Sense. That movie's all full of numerology as well. Could be a separate post. But anyway, release date 33 numerology, running time 106 minutes. And Truth Seeker, it is said that the train in Philadelphia was traveling 106 miles per hour when it crashed, 56 miles per hour over the limit. This film runs 106 minutes. Okay, so that is Unbreakable. Now let's look at Unstoppable. Unstoppable is all full of the same numbers. I meant to say that in the last movie, it's train number 177 that crashed, 177. In Philadelphia, it's train 188. In Unstoppable, it's train 777, but this movie's all full of other coding. Okay, so Thelema is the occult religion that worships the number 93 that represents do what thou wilt. Thelema itself has a gematria of 64, a number we find coded oh so often. The phrase do what thou wilt, which their religion's about, in Pythagorean gematria also sums to 64. Notice that 64 is the product of 8 times 8. And as I've shown in the other videos, there's been a lot of 888, 888 coding. This movie is based on a real-life incident that was about train number 8888. And I showed how Revelation, 404 verses, 22 chapters, when you multiply 404 times 22, you get 8,888. The number of the train that this movie is based on. The name Brandon Bostian in simple English gematria sums to 888. Hopefully you're still following Truth Seeker. The main character in this movie is named Frank Barnes, which has a Pythagorean gematria of 46, S exception 55, S and K exception 64. Frank Barnes shares the 64 numbers. That's who Denzel Washington's character is. In the movie, he states that he's born November 19th. Whenever I see that number, Truth Seeker, it makes me think of Knights Templar, established in the year 1119. More recently, Disney released their movie about Knights Templar, National Treasure, on this date. From this day in the year, there are 42 days left in the year. And remember, Denzel Washington's character is black. This number is also coded all over black men, so it could also be a tribute there. The train line in the movie, fictional train line, is AWVR, which also has a gematria of 64. The fictional setting of the movie is a town in southern Pennsylvania, just outside Philadelphia, Stanton, Pennsylvania. It has Pythagorean gematria 75, and with S exceptions, 93, Truth Seeker. Remember in the last movie, Unbreakable, the main character's name's 93. In this movie, the climax comes to 93. And this movie's running time, this is right near the end of the movie, Truth Seeker. I took a screen capture. You see this in the end. Fire truck 93 there. Shortly after this, the credits roll. The credits roll at the 93rd minute and some seconds. That's where the film ends and the credits roll at 93 minutes and some change. Throughout the movie, they have this news coverage. It's Fox 33 is the channel, and why that's interesting is because the last major train crash in Pennsylvania before this one that was reported last week was in the year 43. But also, if you take the gematria of Fox, simple English, it sums to 45, and you add 43, you get 88. Another 88 coding in this movie. Fox 43. The name Unstoppable has some connections with the state Keystone. This movie was released November 12th, 2010. Remember, the other movie was November 22nd, 2000. This is 10 years later, 11/12/10, also a date with 33 numerology, also in the 11th month, November. Both of these movies about train crashes in Pennsylvania that sync up with this Philadelphia crash, released in November, the 11th month. This movie, the other thing I want to point out is that its total running time with the credits is 98 minutes. And if you've watched my other videos, I've documented all the 98 connections in the beginning of the reporting. For example, the first person to speak on it was Mayor Michael Anthony Nutter, who has the name Gematria of 93. He's the 98th mayor of Philadelphia. The 98th. Then they had this doctor come on and talk about the injuries and the people who died, and he seemed even more bogus and bizarre than the Sandy Hook doctor. If you haven't seen my post on the Sandy Hook doctor who came out and spoke, his name sums to 93. The number of Thelema, the number of do what thou wilt, which we always find around these conspiracies. Anyway, Dr. Herbert Cushing has a gematria of 98, Truth Seeker. This guy was supposedly the expert witness for the train crash. And his name has other coding in it, too. You take away the doctor, it has the 76 in it. Philadelphia's home of the 76ers. And then the other expert was the man who came out and said that the train was traveling 106. His name is John Goglia. His name, with simple English gematria, also sums to 98. With Pythagorean gematria, he's got the 33 coding and everything else. And Truth Seeker, with regards to all this coding, I want you to remember that on September 11th, it was flight 93 of 33 passengers that supposedly crashed in Pennsylvania. That said, there was no plane debris. So we know a plane didn't really crash, just all part of the hoax of a story. The movie that we were just talking about with Denzel Washington, Unstoppable, it's based on this incident, CSX 888. Again, talked about how Revelation's connected to this number. In my other videos, I've showed how much of this 88's been coded into the recent crash. Look at the stats here, Truth Seeker. 47 freight cars, 22 of which were loaded. Remember, 22 chapters in Revelation. This also happened in May 2001. The time, 12:35. 12 plus 35 is 47, Truth Seeker. 47 cars. It's said to have gone on for 66 miles, this runaway train. Of 47 cars, 66 miles. Think about where we see these numbers 47 and 66 coded. From the Bible to football to so much more, Truth Seeker. Relentless. And it also began in a place called Stanley Yard. Stanley is one of these 33 words, like Stanley Cup. NBA Finals, Stanley Cup. All sorts of connections. The numbers of these stories are the numbers found in all the other train crashes that we've covered in the other videos. Oh, True Seeker, I also want to make one more point. With regards to the number of cars, in the movie Unstoppable, the train is 39 cars in length. 39 cars in this runaway train. Another train crash movie from recently is Super 8. This one's set in Ohio, the 17th state. The reason this one stands out to me is because of Steven Spielberg. I've pointed this out many times before. Spielberg, the name sums to 93. Number of Thelema, number coded all throughout this incident. It's called Super 8, and it's set in 79. The word super itself has a gematria of 79. When we looked back at the other train crashes, we found how often 79 was coded into them. Super 8 with Pythagorean gematria is also a 33. Okay, so moving on. The movie Super 8 is set in the fictional town of Lillian. Lillian is one of these 33 words, Truth Seeker. Relentless. Film's directed by J.J. Abrams, one of these guys who openly talks about how he codes the number 47 into Star Trek and more. And again, this is set in Ohio, the 47th state, or excuse me, the 17th state, the only with a simple English gematria of 47. The name J.J. Abrams sums to 74. And again, Spielberg 93. Spielberg's done many films, all full of numerology. His most guilty one is Schindler's List, where every single detail about that movie is 93, from the characters to the date of release to even Oskar Schindler himself. And if you follow headlines in our media, they routinely release these stories about 93-year-old Nazis being found and tried. It's all just part of this sick joke, Truth Seeker. Our whole history is fake, by the numbers, and so often these numbers are in it. 93 is one of the most important ones. Outside of the movies, we were told that Justin Zemser, another weird name. I mean, who is named Jay-Z or Justin Zemser? We know who's named Jay-Z. A guy who's married to a woman with a 93 name. Beyonce Giselle Knowles. Anyhow, this story came out, Amtrak crash. I took a picture of this just to capture it. 33 stories they had synced up to it. But right away, Justin just stands out to me because Justin's one of these 93 names. His mother was Susan. Name was 74 Gematria. Zemser, 86. Another number we find coded a lot. Justin Zemser, supposedly a victim. And they have all these photos for us. I noticed there's some Jews out here. Also this weekend, they started giving us this news story. Did a projectile hit the train? I mean, why does the media, you know how the media just always does this? They just throw out more and more bullshit so people don't know what to think. They were already told the train was traveling 106, which probably isn't even possible. I mean, can an Amtrak train even get up to 106 miles per hour? Probably not. And then they want to throw out that maybe a projectile derailed it after they told us that it was going way too fast through the corner. This is just how they keep the tornadoes spinning in everyone's head so no one knows what to think. They give us these pictures, 8 lives cut short. Supposedly these people all died on the train crash where, the same train crash where we've seen all the witnesses come out unscratched, smiling, grinning, looking very fake. Anyway, this headline up here though, 8 lives cut short, ties into the numbers we've been exposing. Lives cut short, if you just take away the number, sums to 56. It said the train was going 56 miles over the speed limit. It's supposed to be going 50, was going 106. If you add the 8 in, it sums to 64, which we've seen a lot of. True Seeker, I also want to point out that the date this train crash is pointing to, September 23rd, that's going to be the date of Yom Kippur, the Jewish holy day. In the past, there's been wars that started on this day. And what's extra curious about this True Seeker is all year I've been saying, watch out for the number 144, 52 and 144. And Yom Kippur, it has the gematria of 144. So, one more thing lining up for that September 23rd, 2015 date. Comes 5 days before the 4th blood moon. Keep that in mind. And again, it's train 601 in the front. And in Revelation, it's the Church of Philadelphia. The number 61 corresponds with church. Church in simple English gematria is 61. Right now, there's this song on the radio that's been played way, way, way too much for more than a year straight called Take Me to Church. And you have to remember, Truth Seeker, the people who run the airwaves are the same people who run our media, who run all this shit. There's a reason that they want the whole country to have this song ingrained in their head. It's crazy how much this song's been played. Take Me to Church. In the King James Version of the Bible, the 61st book is of 61 verses. No other book in the Bible has this kind of imagery. Interesting number, and probably not a coincidence at all that this train that crashed in Philadelphia has 601 on the front. As close as you can probably get to 61. So that's pretty much the extent of the message, Truth Seeker. If you have the time, watch these movies. Let your mind be blowing. See how ridiculous it all is. If you have even more time, go back to the very beginning of my blog. The easiest way to do that is just go to 2013, October. I only had one post. One night I was just feeling extra ambitious and wanted to write down all my thoughts about what I'd been seeing with history and connecting movies to real life tragedies. And all this work later, I'm now able to look at a train crash such as this and quickly sync it up with history from the past as well as the movies. There's just no doubt in my mind that this is exactly what's going on. And it's all ran by the same gang of Zionist thug Jews. Other people want to say Jesuits, whatever you want to call them. They're all part of this numerological game, hoaxing us by the numbers. They're making movies to foreshadow what they're going to do. Long before I knew about numerology or gematria, Truth Seeker, I was telling people that they have to stop going to the movies and supporting all this shit because it's so obviously ran by this same gang of thugs that has complete control over all the information within our lives. Has anyone noticed how in the economic recession time, where essentially almost everyone's doing worse, there's been a way greater output of movies? Has anyone noticed that? And way more access to movies from Netflix to all these streaming services? I've understood why this is all this time. It's just more distractions, more ways for people to take their eyes off the ball. Because that's what's going on in this world. You have all these people. See, us as a people, we could be the brakes on this. If everyone rose up and did the types of things I did, boycotted the movies, boycotted the big box stores, boycotted the news, boycott all this bullshit, these people's game would be over in a day. They would be shut down. They'd be out of power. Yeah, there's more to it than that, but the first thing we have to do is we have to shut these paid, maybe not paid, these, what is the word? These authoritarians, these dishonest assholes. We have to shut it down, Truth Seeker. All right, until next time.